got 25 minutes. We got to go.
Hey, happy Wednesday, Say That Nation.
Hump day.
And eventually we'll get the camel. Oh, it's going the other way now.
Oh, what's going on? Happy Wednesday, family. Happy hump day, Jeannie.
We're really excited for today. As always, I think it's really helpful to have a midweek check-in, right? Like a mental check-in to see how are we doing? How's everybody doing in the entrepreneurial world?
Absolutely. And to everybody in New York, I know there's been a lot of craziness going on. You guys stay safe, stay vigilant.
If you see something, say something.
Definitely. All right, let's jump into today.
All right. So if you are new to our channel, please, if you like what you see, please subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification bell. When you do that, it allows others in YouTube world to get access to the information that you received, and it pushes it out to them as well. And for those of you who, again, are new, you've never been with us, we do our first portion together here on YouTube, and then we go into overtime with our guests. And overtime, we go in deeper, right? So we got our first 25 minutes and then we do a deep dive on overtime, and that's strictly for our Patreon members. So right now you can lock in and become a Patreon member for either $5, $10, or $20. And you will get access to overtime. And pretty soon, come our next season, we will actually be increasing the price. So you definitely want to make sure you lock in now. And we'll be excited to see you on overtime.
Absolutely. And today, guys, we're continuing with our mental health series. I can't even say month because I think it's going to end up stretching farther than we had originally imagined, which is a really good thing. Even in light of what's happened recently in New York, there are a lot of people who are going through just a lot, and mental health is incredibly important, something I think that's become a huge talking point more recently because of the pandemic, people being locked at home, not being able to see each other, a lot of these different factors affecting people. And today, guys, we have an amazing guest who is going to shed some light with her expertise, in a sense, on a lot of those topics. But specifically, the question she's here to address with us today, if we get that drum roll, Janelle.
Today's question is your self-belief hurting or helping your business?
It seems obvious, but let's really get into this stuff. So who do we have who's going to be joining us today?
Well, I am really excited to bring to you guys today. I have recently met this young woman. And honestly, the minute we met, I just felt like a kindred energy and spirit with her. And it makes sense that would be the case because she is a Reiki healer, and she's really into holistic health, and she coaches people through that as well. And just one of those people that you really you just love to be around. And I got the opportunity to do that a couple nights back. And so I'm really excited for everyone to meet Erin Moore.
Our next guest.
Boom.
Hey, there she is.
Erin, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for that lovely introduction.
No.
Of course. Well, we're excited to have you on. We're really excited to jump into the question. But again, for those who are new to the channel, we would love for you to just share your story and a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey. So how did you go from, wherever you were before to deciding, I really want to take this knowledge I have, this expertise that I have, and really just capitalize on it as a solopreneur and help people that way?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for asking. So as I think with a lot of us, right? So it arose from my own really deep journey. And, my journey, I guess everyone's journey in their own way is about healing and awakening, but mine has always been sort of in that space of energy and spirituality. Even as a little girl, I actually remember feeling energy and seeing emotions of my family members and kind of wanting to help and heal. And so kind of had those intuitive abilities going on. And of course we all have those and we all have the capacity for it. But, sometimes some of us are more attuned to it or more interested in developing that. And I would say then for quite many years in my life, then that kind of went latent. Like I had a very traditional path in the sense that I got a psychology degree, and then I did a master's in health communications, which is interesting because there's always like, it always fits in, right? Like in retrospect, sometimes we can look back and see the different pieces. I think it was that Steve Jobs quote about, like sometimes seeing how it all fits together later pieces. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I sort of embarked on like the more traditional aspect of, health, psychology. I was in the corporate world doing like copywriting and editing. And then I had some catalyzing experiences in my life that, oh yeah, thank you. There's my website. Kind of started, pivoted me back towards, I guess, my true passions and my true, purpose, which is more the holistic, esoteric side of things. And as I'm sure, people can relate to, I had actually, I had a romantic breakup that was a catalyst. And I also had lost my mom at a young age. And so I started to kind of have these sort of mystical experiences or whatever you want to call them. And that the intuition was coming back. And so then I just then I was going on my own healing journey and like voraciously studying all of these things. And then I did my Reiki certification and attunement, and then holistic health nutrition. And I actually also did an end of life doula training. And through my own journey, at first I thought it was just about me, right? But then I kind of started, I think as a lot of us might feel, that, oh, actually, no, I'm meant to help others more directly. And so, yeah. And then, it was really just like, almost like an inexplicable drive to, continue and then start my business. And I definitely did have resistance to it though. Like I would say off and on, like, which actually, I think sometimes when we have resistance, it's showing us that is our path. But like, sometimes we can think it's,
not
the opposite, right? Yeah. So, and then I had some shifts in the jobs I had. And as I think often is the case too, it was kind of like the universe, I felt, pushing me in this certain direction, and, things like not working out that weren't meant to work out. And, so, and I, anyway, there's so many aspects to that. I had mentors that saw certain things in me too that helped encourage me, which was huge. So that's a little bit about it, but there's many aspects.
God, I have so many questions. Please let me go first.
Yes, go ahead.
Please let me go first. Okay. Here's, because I was I remember when Janelle told me about Janelle, she did your
yes, I did a Reiki session with Erin. It was amazing. So, please, everybody. I mean, we're gonna put up all her info, but you got to do it.
No. Okay, so here's where I want to ask. So for me, and I just even saw it on your website, and then there was even a clip I saw, tarot card reading.
Oh,
the lack, and I'll say the way I understand myself. I have a lack of understanding because I've been told certain things. I was raised to have certain beliefs, right? I guess Christian beliefs I would say Christian beliefs. But as a whole, for me, I there's so many negative things that I've been told around tarot. I mean, for anyone who reads the Bible, there's things that we're being told. And the reason I say lack of understanding is, as I've been on my own journey, I guess as all of us have, I realized there are things I understood at some point, but the context that I understood it under is what's false and what steers you down like a path of you just really don't know what you don't know, right? So in some instances, there's a woman now that I have a lot of respect for, named Abraham Hicks, who channels. I'm no doubt you're familiar. Who channels, and from the advice that she gives, there's so many practical things for myself that makes. I mean, like, she says things in a way. I mean, it literally just blows my mind. So my question is, how do you combat, if not combat, but how on your journey, when you've ran into people maybe like me who are, and I'm going to say lack of understanding, because I don't think we intentionally mean to be the way we are towards the practice that you have, but we just don't know. I just don't know. How do you talk to clients or people who that's the, like, they end up there first, like, or they won't even approach what it is that you do for the benefits simply because they've been misguided in some of the other areas. Does that make sense? I know
Yeah.
it's like a roundabout way. Okay, cool.
Totally, for sure. And, I think honestly too, it's like sometimes it's not misled. Like maybe it is right for that person to believe that or not go down a certain path, So
Yeah.
I guess one aspect of it is for me, I've kind of had to learn, but I guess I always did believe this too, is that it's not really my job or place to convince anyone.
Oh,
So,
good.
it's very niche. And so typically like people that are already open to those types of things are the ones that are coming to me. But, I'm always open to chatting about it with, a wide variety of people. And it's true, like we all have our programming, we all have and it's not even necessarily in a negative way. Like sometimes it is holding us back, but sometimes it's just what we believe, or, you believe something from the Bible, or you believe something from a different tradition, and it's valid, and that's what works for them. So but I think one way I would describe it, something like tarot oracle cards, like if we take away because there can be a lot of like religious or you know doctrine around it, or ideas around it, but the way I look at it is very non-denominational, and that's kind of like how I am, is more spirituality, not any sort of religion, but of course it's sort of an overused term, spirituality, but it's so basically with something like cards, it's like symbolism and archetypes. So that's like one way that, I might present it, because
okay.
So
Okay. No, that's really good.
Yeah.
That the only reason I said, and limiting, and sorry to cut you off, Jay. It's only because, again, because I was told something about her, I chose not to listen. It's initially, or actually no, excuse me. Whatever the actual part was, I was told a lot about her. Then I was told by by someone, oh, don't listen to her. She does this. It's evil. Blah blah blah. And I've listened to this woman now. A lot more now since the pandemic. And there's not one time that I've ever felt like I'm being conned into something. So for me, it was, oh man, I wonder how many people, like many things, don't seek help or healing in an area that they could probably be getting it, but it's simply because we're being told something, again, about a practice that's just not. And you're right, because it could be true for them, and I don't want to sit here and judge anyone for that. But I found a lot of help in listening to someone that is in your sphere, I guess, maybe of even influence.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that. And I think it's, sure, like part of it's open-mindedness. Part of it is like, what I believe is that like your soul might be ready or not ready for certain experiences or things or whatever, right? Or you may never that may never be a fit for you, and that's fine too. So it's really about like finding what resonates for you, and the intuition. And that's a lot of what I help people with.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, yeah.
I love that. All right, go ahead, Jay.
No, well, I was like, this is great. I think there's a lot of people out there who don't understand like some of the other like holistic things that you can do for just like your mental health, right, and well-being. So I am glad that you asked that, Winston. And two things I was thinking. One, I really want to get into this question, but maybe, Erin, if you wouldn't mind, just like giving like a definition of Reiki.
I was going to ask, what is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference? What's the difference there?
So Reiki is a type of energy healing modality, and if this particular lineage, Reiki, comes from Japan. Well, actually, I should say there's a few different lineages within the umbrella of Reiki, and then there's other types of energy healing modalities as well. But Reiki is sort of the most commonly known, which is, I am certified in Reiki, but I've also done some other like initiations into some other healing lineages, but using the word Reiki tends to be a little bit more accessible. But it's basically, so it's a sort of an esoteric energy holistic healing method, and it's very gentle and it's very sacred, and it's very spiritual for a lot of people, but it can also just be not spiritual, right? Like it can just also be just very relaxing, like receiving healing high frequency light energy. And like a practitioner like me, so I'm trained and attuned into that energy. And it's interesting because even before I did those trainings that I did, I was having experiences where like energy was coming out of my hands. So I think it's my belief and experience that a lot of people who are meant to do that type of work, it's like there's already something going on there, or they already have that either, you know, sort of inclination or ability, and then, you know, may pursue that path. And I think it's a lot about like integrity and boundaries, you know, because in theory, anybody can do like a Reiki training. And I think a little bit it's been sort of overused or misunderstood. And but as a practitioner, so what I do is because I'm attuned to that energy, I kind of am like the conduit is how I describe it. So it's kind of like bringing through that energy and kind of through me into the client, and it's, you know, whatever is right for them in that moment. So, and it really helps. It can help with physical health. It can help with, you know, energy blockages and all sorts of things like that, which I sometimes do see during my sessions. I see energy as well. So, you know, with the chakra system, the 7 energy centers in the body, you may have heard of that from yoga or, you know, similar. So yeah. And so it's, you know, it's a very unique experience for everybody. And, yeah, and I do bring in like the physical health aspect of it. Sometimes I help people navigate that, you know, either as part of Reiki sessions or separately. So, you know, because in my view, it's all connected. It's all, you know, it's mind, body, spirit.
So can you have an energy block and it affects how you see yourself, or the belief you have in yourself? Are those things? Wow.
I think so. I mean, yes,
Wow.
that's been my experience. And, you know, I say it, you know, in general about, and actually quantum physics sort of shows us that everything's made of energy.
Energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, everything's energy. So whether it's like the physical table that we're sitting at right now or our thoughts or beliefs, it's all energy.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, and also oftentimes I've seen and believe too that like physical conditions or physical things can have like an energetic root, which is why root or cause, which is why energy healing can help start to address that at like the root, because its energy is like sort of the root of everything.
So are you able to, even as we're talking now, is it something where you're in person with someone and this is something you're able to access, the ability to, whether it's is it the correct term, seeing colors or seeing is aura still something that people, I was going to ask, is that the term that's still used for that?
Yeah. And it's actually funny. I had a fun experience recently where I had my aura colors read, like somebody, it's not a very common thing, but some people see aura colors and it's interesting with that. But yes, the aura is the energy field. It's just another word for the energy field. And it's usually, we all have one, and it usually extends like 6 to 10 feet or so out from our body. And so yeah, I mean, so it's something that I don't have in terms of like, it's not on for me all the time. I mean, sometimes stuff does come in whether I like it or not, but, you know, it's like the boundaries. And so it's more like when I set the intention and I set the energy for like a healing session, for example, I will start to see that, or during the Reiki. And sometimes I do see colors. Sometimes I hear messages. It's the clair senses. I don't know if you've heard of those. It's like, it's basically the senses beyond the 5 senses. So like
they're called clair senses?
Clair, so CLAIR.
Okay.
And so like clairvoyant is one of them.
Okay.
You've probably heard that term.
Yeah.
That's like seeing, so clear seeing. So that would be an example. Like, for example, during a Reiki session, I might see something that's going on with somebody's like energy body, or there may be some sort of, you know, insight or, you know, download that comes through to help the person. And I always ask if people want to hear that. And, you know, people always are interested, and it's, you know, it's always amazing for me to experience that and then get the confirmation, because I think a big part of being an intuitive person in general, and then also especially an intuitive practitioner, is like learning to trust ourselves and trust what we get. And of course, that's a theme about life in general too. But
okay, I'm gonna, you know,
no, these are great questions.
No, I really do. So here's my other thing. All right, so similar to maybe what we find in our industry, there are companies that come about that are, I don't want to say that they set out to be scams, but maybe they do. But I'd imagine in what you do, there are people who go around saying, and this is again is why I know there's a bad rap around this. We all know this is probably the black sheep of your industry, Miss Cleo, who used to do like,
Oh my
no,
God.
again, you got to hear me out, because I know there's more to many people. I think on some in some point of their existence or mind recognize we're clearly more than our bodies. You know, I'm not my arms and so on and so on. So there's something going on that we can't understand. You know, many people similar to yourself may say that they see spirits or they can see things, all these other things. But there are people who go around now pretending for the sake of whatever reason, finances or whatever, to do what you do.
Right.
Do you run into that? Like you mentioned, someone read yours the other day. Do you run into people who are fake and you can kind of call them out? Like how would someone know? Like, yeah, but it's like how would someone know that the person just doesn't know? Like there's a legitimate way to do what you do, and then there are people who are just kind of going around and maybe even need help honing their skills. Maybe they understand it a little bit and just need more help to cultivate it, like you said. Because you started out by saying we all have these skills. Is it a gift or is it a skill?
Well, it's both. I mean, we all, some of us are more, some of us are born like more attuned or have those more developed, because that's like my belief anyway. Like,
yeah,
for certain people, it's part of our path, whether it's professionally or just in our life, to be more focused on that or doing that to help others or to help self.
Okay.
So some of us do have stronger of that kind of attunement, but then we all as humans do have the intuition and the ability to do that. It's just that some of it in our world, of course, like it's really hard because there's, it's just
so much going on. Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of messages about like logic and reason and, oh, why would you do that? It's like there's so many pressures, and then of course there's so many experiences and traumas that we may go through that then can like distort trusting that. So but yeah, everybody at a deep level, everybody has the capacity to tap into their intuition and their truth, and then of course, but yes, there are those of us who are more like tapped into other realms. But to your point, yes, there are so many like charlatans and people.
Yeah.
I have like one of my blogs which only even touches on it. It's just like a little snippet of some examples of experiences I've had with people who are just not in integrity. It's and honestly, like at the beginning, and it's sort of made me almost not go into this field. And sometimes I do. I mean, even I still see it a lot, and I still navigate it. And I personally don't go and get like readings or anything like that anymore. Like I did have that aura reading, but that was more just like a pop up at this mystical shop in New York City. That was like a fun little thing. But I think it's like we all go through those phases where well, not we all, but sometimes we go through where we want someone else to tell us answers. But it's, then it's kind of about learning to tap into, does this resonate and what's my truth, and the empowerment of like, how do you really feel? And if someone's telling you something, just because they're saying that to you, yeah.
Okay. Because I told Janelle of that. I don't know if she did a read. She said she was a life coach, but she did energies and all this other stuff. And she gave me a reading, and I was telling Janelle at the time I didn't. Basically everything she said after she made one statement about something she thought I should do in terms of a relationship I was in. I like completely blocked the rest of everything this woman said.
Oh wow.
And it's just like for me, it's like now it's like in hindsight, I'm wondering how much truth there was, but because I just didn't want to, buy into the one thing she said. And it's funny how it ultimately worked. It just blows my mind now because I don't remember much of what else she said. But the person that referred me to her spoke incredibly highly of her. And I'm just wondering, I was somewhat closed-minded. And there was a lot of similar to like what I said to you. I went in with so much just like, oh, here she's with the crystals are coming out. She's like, I sense this with you when I just in hugging, oh my God, there's this coming. And and maybe even growing up in New York, we think we're so great at calling BS out that I think we're like overly now. Like we've become so close-minded
Right.
that we're not willing to accept, like there are other things going on. Like, you know, I can accept that. Like there are other things going on that I can't even fathom or begin to understand. And yet I think I got this other stuff all figured out, and I'm so close-minded. And this woman was speaking, again, the things she ultimately shared, I don't know how it would have worked out, but she gave advice and I just wasn't open-minded to it at the time.
Yeah,
So
no,
very interesting. I'm wondering how many other people go through that.
yeah. It's a fine line, because it's a fine line between healthy boundaries and then being closed off. But yeah, it is very tricky. And that's why I think, I mean, I feel really strongly about this, because as we know, when we're seeking healing or we're going to a practitioner, like people are extra vulnerable. And so especially,
and I definitely was.
Yeah, it can be really insidious. And and that's actually, I mean, anyway, so I've actually moved a little bit more, like I would say, more towards just the healing, and then also doing like intuitive writing and that kind of stuff, partly because of that. So it can be tricky to navigate.
Well, thinking about that, right? Like it's tricky to navigate one's own belief in themselves.
Yeah.
So thinking about the question specifically, like when you first saw the question, what was your first reaction? Like when you saw this?
That's a good question. My first reaction was that it's everything. Like beliefs and self-belief is everything. I mean, because, you know, it sort of goes along with my beliefs around, like, as within, so without, as above, so below, everything's energy. So like everything that and of course it can be very complex. It's often not black or white or clearly seen, but there's all these layers of our own beliefs and experiences and what we carry from, whether it's childhood or past lives or beliefs or thoughts. And that's rippling out all the time, creating our kind of reality. And, you know, law of attraction, again, is sort of like an overused term, and it can also be kind of like overly, I don't know, bastardized, or what the right word is, or over popified, right? Like, but that is our universe is energy. So I think starting to identify the beliefs that we have, which can be very subconscious and can be hidden, and it can be hard to know what those are. But like starting to inquire, and then when you start to bring them to light, it can then be, life changing. And I think it's Jung who had the quote around, if you bring what's I'm not remembering the exact words right now, but it's about basically bringing forth
Oh, good timer. Well, no, finish your thought before we go into overtime.
It's basically just the idea that until we bring forth what is inside us, what we believe, subconscious, all of that, it will run our life, and we'll believe it's fate. We'll call it fate until we start to identify. So anyway, I'm adding the second part, but it's, basically what's within us. If you don't bring it forth and you don't start to investigate, it will kind of dictate our life, and we'll just assume that's our fate.
Is it that if you bring forth what is within, what you bring forth will save you?
That's a similar quote, which I also love that quote. That's a good one too, but it's the same idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so when we go into overtime, I want to talk about some instances where you have seen this shown up potentially in your own business, and also some of the clients that you've had, and like how you've seen their self-belief, and maybe how you help them through it or help them identify some things going on. Would love to get into that in overtime.
Cool.
Yeah. And even how you address the charlatan, because I'm pretty sure you get people who do kind of try and call you out, or maybe you haven't had that, or say you're faking the funk. You know how you deal with that.
All right, awesome. Well, again, for those of you who have never been with us before, we are going to jump into overtime with Erin. So the link for the link for StreamYard is not there. The link for Patreon is there, and that's where you can find us on Overtime. And you can go ahead and click on that, and we will meet you there. And if you want to find Erin, right, if you want to get in touch with her, have a Reiki session yourself, you can find her on Instagram. She will actually respond. She has a great Instagram, lots of cool things there. You can find her also on her website. Winston had that up earlier. And make sure that you get your session in.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Because this stuff can really like impact you in so many ways. I mean, we focus on business, but exactly what Erin was talking about, like it really impacts all areas of your life. So I'm excited to get into Overtime.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erin, and thank you to everyone who was on live with us. Again, guys, if you are watching the replay, please still drop your questions, and we will definitely still pass them along to Erin. And if there's anything or any way we can connect you guys, we'll do everything we can to make sure that happens. All right.
Hey, bye guys.
There's the website.
Hope to see you.
Absolutely. And for us,
as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that.
Have a great Wednesday, you guys. We'll see you guys in Overtime in a couple minutes.